heading over to a homeowner's to change out an exterior door, and I'll show you how I do it. All right, here we are at the job, and this is the old door, and you can see why the homeowner wants to change it out. It's not square anymore. It's starting to rot, fall apart, paint's peeling, no weather stripping. It's just in rough shape. Time for a new one. Now, when purchasing a new door, before you go and buy it, you want to measure the width of the door. This one's 32 inches. You want to measure the height of the door, 80 inches. And it's good too to go inside and check the rough opening, which involves taking the trim off from around the door and measuring the framing behind that. And roughly the width is 34.5, stud to stud or jack to jack stud. And the height from floor to the header is approximately 83. Now the last thing you want to look at is how many bores you need. This is just a single. Might have a deadbolt on yours, so you need a 2-bore hole. And this is an outswing right-hand door. Outswing right-hand. Your door might be, most are, in-swing doors, but that's how you figure out what it is. You stand at the hinges, swing it in, makes it a right-hand swinging door. The other thing that you want to measure before you go pick up your door is the width of the door jamb. And this is 4 9/16. You don't include the brick mold. This is brick molding right here. It's just a trim piece. Now we're ready to run to the hardware store and pick up a door. We're back from, as you can see, Home Depot. We got a 32 by 80 inch door. That's the measurement of the door itself. Right hand, outswing. You can see the knobs over there. Outswing, and it calls for a rough opening of 34.25 by 81 1/8, so we're fine on that. Now the difference between an outswing and an in-swing door, and yours, most people have an in-swing door unless you live in Florida where there's hurricanes or whatever. The hinge pins can't be removed on an outswing door, and the threshold is a little different. This is also the 4 9/16 inch jamb that we needed. And we picked up a packet of brick mold. And you can get this in wood, which that is, and it rotted, or you can get it in this plastic, which won't rot. Now we're ready to remove the old door and door jamb. Oh, what do you know? Not very secure if you want to keep people out. And now we can go ahead and remove the door slab. Now, depending on how old your door is, there should be shims in behind here. And I don't see any. And I don't feel any running a screwdriver around there. So what I'm going to do, I'm not exactly sure how they installed this, but I'm going to go ahead and run my reciprocating saw down here. But first, I'm going to go ahead and cut the caulking line between the brick mold and the casing. And I'm also going to cut the caulk line between the brick mold and the brick, so I can remove both of those. And we'll take the reciprocating saw and just run it down here to make sure that's all free. Now we're not saving this door jamb or anything. The only thing I want to be careful of is not to mess up the brick. So I'm going to go ahead, take my pry bar down here at the bottom, open that up, and the same thing on the other side. And now our frame's out and we can remove that. Now that we've got the door jamb off and the door out, I can see this brick mold is actually that same plastic brick mold. And it's in fine shape, obviously, so somebody changed that out because it rotted. The one along the top is wood, but it's in perfect condition because there's a good overhang here, so the weather can't get to it. But this brick mold on this side is wood, and it's actually rotten at the bottom. So we're going to change that out. Now we're going to go ahead and remove this side, so I'm not worried about these staples. But the staples along the top and the other side, I want to remove. You can do that a number of ways, but these little aluminum staples and nails, you can just bend them back and forth and they break off. And the nails that are left over that we cut with the reciprocating saw, you can just take a nipper like this, you pinch it, roll it, pulls it right out. Now there's some nails holding that brick mold into the stud. So I'm going to take my reciprocating saw and run it along here. And we pull that out. Now we want to slide the sill out. And we'll clean up this area. With everything cleaned up, now we want to check and see if the threshold is level. And I can see the left side needs to come up maybe a 1/4 inch. And we'll also check the jambs, and that one's perfect. Now let's check the other side, and that one's perfect. So good framing job. All right, we'll slide our shim under there, and we're looking perfect. Now we'll go ahead and try to dry fit the door. Now a few things about the door. They put this clip on to keep the door from swinging open, so that'll be removed later. They put a plug in where the doorknob is, where the strike plate goes, and need to remove that. You just pull this out and push that in, and that comes out. And then the other thing at the bottom of the jambs, they put stapled these plastic guards on here, which is good because that's all beat up. There's one there and one at the bottom. Now the other thing you want to pay attention to when you're looking at this is how this sill is underneath, because we're going to put a bead of caulk, and you want to make sure that you don't put it where the void is. So this is the outside of the door. We want to put a bead right inside here, a nice thick bead, and then probably a second bead in here. So let's go ahead, pull these plastic caps off and try to dry fit it. And this jamb is secured right here with staples. All right, we got a unique situation here. You saw the gap where the threshold wasn't, and we're going to take this out. That's why you always dry fit it. But the brick ends right here. And then there's a void and then the concrete. But you can't leave that open. And here's the threshold here, or the sill of the door. So I was very careful when I took that sill out from the old door. And I think it works out real slick to put that in, caulk that down real good, and then caulk the other door on top of it, and we'll secure the jamb real good with shims and screws, and I think that'll hold nice. I'm going to pull the weather stripping out. You want to be real careful that you don't tear it. So I just stick a screwdriver in there and pry that out. You don't want to just grab this with pliers and pull it out, because you can tear it. So I'll just work that out. It just slips in there. Now what I'm going to do is drill a hole in behind the weather strip, and I'm going to put a screw in there, and that will hold the door in place. And that'll all be hidden. And I'll put one on the other side, the same as that one. And now I'll put a screw in there. I just put it in loose. I'll put one on the other side loose also. And that holds my door in place so I can get everything squared up. And what you want to do is check and make sure that you're plumb this way. And you also want to check that you get it in the door plumb this way. And we're also very good. I'm going to go ahead and pull this door out, and then we'll go ahead and caulk the bottom of this sill to the other sill. And then put our shims in, and the one missing brick mold, and we'll be all set. Alright, I drilled holes, 3 holes, put 3 anchors in, got it marked for the board so it all lines up, and I'm going to screw this down. She ain't going nowhere. Sill plate, just slide that under. I marked a pencil here where the front line is, and as you saw, that fits in the groove there. Like I said, you won't have to do any of this. This is just custom stuff here. Got our shims placed. They call for 3 beads of caulk, 1/4 inch thickness. All right, we got the door in. Square. Now we can shim it up, fine tune it, and we're just about done. One problem we have is the reveal on the hinges. Got our 1/8 inch, but then you go down to the bottom and it's pinched. So I'm going to shim behind the hinge and open that up. We picked up these hinge shims at Home Depot for $1.29, and I'm going to go ahead and stick one behind that bottom hinge and see if that's enough. And if it isn't, I'll do another one. So we have 4-inch hinges, and I needed to break off. You can see how much I took off. There's a line there, or you can cut it with scissors. Then you just slide that in behind the screws, screw it back in. Just slide it in and then tighten it down. But we basically have an 1/8 inch all the way around now, and it took 2 shims on the bottom. And now the door's all set up, so we can go ahead and install it permanently. Okay, we've got a good reveal all the way around the door. Now all I need to do is shim behind this hinge, behind this hinge, and behind this hinge. On a single door, I don't need any shims above the header, but I'll also put 3 shims down the strike plate side and 1 right at the strike plate. Now when you put your shims in, you don't want to just shove it in like that because you can see that's tapered, but you want to run your shims like this. So I'll run 1 through the back side and then this, so you get a nice level surface for your jamb to sit against. Good. And while I'm doing this, I'm in and out, in and out, in and out to make sure the reveal around the door's good. Now I'm going to go outside, check and make sure that reveal's good. Perfect. Now we can secure that one. And then we got one on the bottom. Good. You just take a utility knife, score that. Then you can just break that off. And I like to pre-drill where our hinge screw, the long hinge screw goes in, and that'll go right in through into the stud. Ain't going nowhere. Beautiful. And the other side. And we'll check our door. Beautiful. Perfect lines all the way around. Now all we've got left, that piece of brick mold on the left-hand side. And now I'll cut the brick mold. I only have to cut one piece, and so I didn't bring my miter saw, and maybe some of you don't have a miter saw, and these little hand ones work fine. So I cut a 45-degree angle to match up with the top. Now I just have to cut it to length. Perfect fit, but too tight with the hinges. So what I'm going to have to do is trim this off. It gets caulked anyways. Now the reason I'm doing it this way, you can see the other door. Actually the jamb was buried behind the brick mold. And I don't want to do that, and I don't want the tongue hitting that like that. So I would rather trim a little bit off this side and have that right on that side. I've got my handy little homemade table saw, and I've got a video of this, but all I did was took a piece of 3/4 inch OSB and a piece of 7/16 OSB, put my saw on there, pull the guard up, and I just built a guide, and actually I made the 3/4 inch a little wider, and I just cut that. After I screwed this down, I just cut it. Now I get perfect cuts every time. Works like a table saw. Very handy. So what I'm going to do, we need to take off a 1/4 inch. I'm just going to set this at a 1/4 inch. Beautiful. We'll just push it up, and of course this gets caulked, just like the old one, and you'll never know. All right, I'm going to cheat a little bit here. Got a pancake compressor, got Harbor Freight for 35 bucks on sale a few years ago. I don't know what they are now. And I also have a nail gun. I think I paid $17 for that, and I have 2-inch nails. They're galvanized, so they won't rust. And I'm going to go ahead and nail this brick mold up, and I nail it right into the casing. If you don't have access to that, I'd recommend pre-drilling holes before you drive your finish nails. Installation's all done. The homeowner's got painters coming, so they'll go ahead and take care of the caulking. I'm going to use paintable caulk on the outside. Got the threshold all set, the sill. Nice reveal all the way around. approximately the 1/8 inch gap. Beautiful. Now, one other thing I recommend you do is caulk this gap right here with some clear silicone. Of course, your brick mold and out there. And do the same thing in here. There's our finished job. None of the screws are showing. As you know, they're all hidden behind, which works out great. And inside, there's no trim in here, but all you need to do is leave like a 1/4 inch reveal here. Put your casing on. And that's how easy it is to install an exterior door on your house, or in this case, storage room. If this video was a help to you, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. And I look forward to helping you with other projects online.